It's FA of Sportsman. It's Lamont. We back with another podcast episode. Today we got to talk about it. Duke volleyball player Rachel Richardson says that she faced racial slurs while playing in a volleyball match at BYU. Her allegations were even more damning because she alleged that the university, when notified, did nothing about the fan that was supposedly yelling these racial slurs, and now there are lawyers involved. It looks like civil suits will be filed, and it looks like this is something that's going to potentially play out in a legal battle and in the media. So as we've seen multiple media outlets run with this story, from ESPN, we've seen Stephen A. Smith harp on it, all the way to Good Morning America. This is a story where a lot of people are jumping to support Rachel Richardson in her claims of dealing with these racial slurs while she played a game at BYU. BYU is facing some really harsh repercussions because of this. We've already seen the women's basketball team from South Carolina cancel their series against BYU this upcoming season. I'm sure that more fallout in a similar nature will occur. But on the flip side of this, there's been some additional investigation that's kind of been going on into her allegations. You know, obviously, if you're going to make allegations of this nature against a university, against a fan, against a student section or potential student, obviously you can't just say things blanketly without evidence to support it. And so there has been a small problem in this particular story. There is a small problem here. Let's go ahead and get to this video so we can kind of get some of the details on some of the findings from the police, and then we're gonna come back and come to our own conclusion about this particular situation and what the repercussions should be for all parties involved.
Now to the Duke University volleyball player demanding answers this morning, saying she was the target of racist taunts during a match in Utah. This morning, she is telling her story, and Janae Norman is here with more on this. Good morning, Janae.
Hey guys, good morning. So listen, classes started yesterday at Duke. So when I spoke with Rachel Richardson last
night, demanding answers. The volleyball player demanding answers this morning, saying she was the target of racist taunts during a match in Utah. This morning, she is telling her story, and Janae Norman is here with more on this. Good morning, Janae.
Hey guys, good morning. So listen, classes started yesterday at Duke. So when I spoke with Rachel Richardson last night, she said she'd shoved the experience in the back of her mind and was focused on school and volleyball. She is a student athlete, but realizes that when people see her, she's a black woman first, and she's hoping the racism she endured on the court can be a teaching moment for folks off the court.
Richardson again fires that one.
New fallout this morning from the volleyball court.
Well, at first it was kind of like did I hear that right? Like, I didn't really believe it.
Duke sophomore Rachel Richardson says she and her black teammates were targeted with racial slurs and threats during their game against rival BYU over the weekend.
The next time I went back to serve, I was like, okay, yep, I definitely heard that right. I immediately just told one of my most trusted teammates, and I was like, I just heard someone use a racial slur to address me, essentially.
Richardson taking to Twitter saying the heckling lasted for the entire match, and when it turned to threats, they began to feel unsafe. She says both the officials and BYU coaching staff were made aware of the incident during the game, but failed to take the necessary steps to stop the unacceptable behavior and create a safe environment.
My coaches and my teammates, they responded immediately to the best of their ability, because in that moment I was like, they're doing something on my behalf.
BYU confirming that the fan accused of launching those attacks is not a student and that they are now permanently banned by BYU.
Even if, as they say, it wasn't a student who was doing this, there were students nearby. And so the fact that they didn't know what to do in the moment to call him out or to let him know that's not accepted here, you need to stop. That's not wanted here. It's a level of ignorance. And so if there's a lack of knowledge on racism and how to deal with it, that's how you have things like this continue to happen.
The next night, the BYU athletic director with strong words for their supporters.
Cheer them on as loud as you can, but do not cross the line where you would hurt or harm anyone in any way.
Richardson has thanked him for his support and says he's been at the forefront of making sure his athletes get the proper education and training to handle any similar encounter effectively. Richardson's father says although she's receiving overwhelming support, there's need for more action and accountability.
So if you're standing in that crowd and someone is doing that next to you, what is progress? Progress is someone saying, hey, stop that.
For Rachel, she calls the incident an opportunity for herself and for others.
I'm not the first person. I'm not the last person. This isn't an isolated incident. It's an opportunity for not just me, but for anyone who has an opinion, anyone who has a voice, to decide that it should be the last time.
So some said that the Duke volleyball team should have protested and stopped playing the match. Rachel says that never even crossed her mind. They were there to play volleyball. That's what they did. And she added that she doesn't believe this one person or even those in the crowd nearby are reflective of BYU's values. So I was really impressed with how she is handling all of it.
A lot of grace.
Amazing.
Yes,
Wow.
completely.
Thank you so much.
All right, so there you have it right there. That's kind of the gist of the story. And now, since this story has come out, a lot of people, especially on YouTube, I'm seeing a lot of people are making claims that Rachel Richardson completely made this up. Now, I'm not going to put that label on anybody. Obviously, she's done nothing for me to think or put her credibility into question. She says she heard what she heard. She says her teammates also confirmed this. I don't believe she has a reason to lie. But then on the flip side, you still have to weigh the information and the evidence on hand. All right. I think some of the things you have to consider to date is that none of the BYU students in that student section have confirmed hearing anyone yelling the N-word. BYU, they are still investigating this particular issue, and they're investigating the racist slurs yelled at this Duke volleyball game last week. And this is all in part because campus police say it doesn't appear the man who was targeted by the player and then eventually banned. Campus police are saying that according to video footage, it doesn't appear that he was the one yelling anything. Now, reports from BYU Police Lieutenant George Berzendorfer, they said Tuesday that based on an initial review of the initial surveillance footage provided from the crowd, the individual who was banned was not shouting anything while the Duke player was serving. And they double down and quote, "When we watched the video, we did not observe this behavior from him." I mean, so you have the fan himself who's denying that he said anything. And then you have the player who is adamant that this particular fan said these things and did these things the entire match. And she's not conflicted with regards to what actually happened. Now, the Duke sophomore, Rachel Richardson, she's the lone black starter on the team. And she has said she very distinctly heard a very strong and negative racial slur come from this banned fan during Friday's match while she was serving. And she was very clear about what she was doing when she heard it, how often she heard it. So various BYU athletics employees have been reviewing video from BYU TV. From the evidence or from the information that I saw, they have over 33 live mics and they have over 17 different camera angles of that particular student section. And it says that they have been reviewing video from these cameras in the facility that the volleyball team has access to for film review. And he says this has been ongoing. It's been an ongoing investigation, but they are saying that the person who was banned, that was identified by the player, Rachel Robinson, as using the racial slurs on video is not documented that this person is even saying anything while she is serving. So they've come to the conclusion that they've been unable to find any evidence of this particular person using racial slurs during the volleyball match. And I think this now presents a new problem because video evidence is a very, very strong form of evidence when you make allegations against a person. Video evidence changes the game. There's so many incidents between players and fans and just certain things of certain natures where the video evidence is used to determine what happened. When we look at the Malice in the Palace in Detroit, TV cameras on court showed a certain angle that didn't make the players look very favorable. But when you look at all of the camera angles in totality, it showed a different picture. And it looked more like the players were in defense mode, protecting themselves as opposed to being the aggressors. And the multiple camera angles showed the fans in that sense being the aggressors. And it showcased in detail a different story. In this case right here, whenever someone makes an accusation that they have been targeted by racial slurs, obviously I want to take that allegation seriously. And I want to make sure that the culprit who actually did it is identified and, in this particular case, banned from coming to these particular events, possibly banned from all sporting events at BYU if that person is found. But there is a level of due diligence that you must do if this person is adamant about not saying or doing these things. Obviously, the player was clear about who she thought was saying these things. The unfortunate reality is, and what makes this kind of tough to swallow, is that none of the fans for 2 hours during this match were able to identify the person that said these things. The cameras are not identifying any particular person who's yelling these things. The hot mics are not picking up these words that are being yelled profusely and loud enough that players on the court can hear them. It's just kind of starting to look like there's a lot of overwhelming evidence that support that Rachel Richardson is potentially lying about this. And I think that's going to be the worst aspect or worst element of it. But you know what? I'm not here to either judge her, whether she's lying or not. Obviously, we like to take things another direction here because I think that this particular situation is much bigger than her making these accusations. Because over the last 6, 7, 8 months, I've been very fervent about mainstream media, especially people on ESPN, in particular, always coming to the defense of women without any real evidence to support their claims. This has been commonplace because if we want to talk about racial slurs in sports, over the last 6 months, there have been a myriad of black athletes, men, who have made these same allegations, and ESPN and Good Morning America haven't done anything with regards to getting behind them or showcasing their concerns on a mainstream platform. We can even talk about the international soccer players, black soccer players who deal with entire stadiums yelling these things, and they don't get the platform that she's gotten. And all of this stuff is documented on video. You can literally hear entire stadiums yelling racist slurs. We've seen it in baseball as well, where fans have been caught on camera and on hot mics yelling things at players in the outfield. We just saw a situation like this. But when a woman makes these allegations, before any due diligence is done, before any investigations are complete, we run with allegations as if they're fact. And in this particular case, the evidence is starting to mount and is starting to look overwhelmingly like she's lying. Now, I don't know what her agenda might be, like similar to Jesse Smollett. I don't know what his intentions were when he completely made up this fictitious fight to get beat up and blame it on some random guys who might be a part of the KKK and put a noose around his neck. I don't know what your motivations or intentions behind something like that might be. I don't know where it would stem from, where it would come from, why you would say it. I don't know why, and I don't know, man. This is something that you guys are going to have to hash out in the comments, man. Because I think we're in a day and age now where it almost is starting to sound like women can say and do anything, and they are to be believed until proven false. We just went through this with Deshaun Watson, where as long as a woman writes her story down on a piece of paper, we have to consider that story to be true until it's proven false. I mean, we just saw another athlete, the kicker from ASU for the Texans. Accusations that are now another civil suit where I can write anything down on paper, just like Rachel Richardson could say anything and make it sound as bad as possible. The problem is, are the facts supporting your claims? In the Deshaun Watson case, there was a lot of things, there were a lot of accusations thrown out on paper. But according to the criminal system, the criminal justice system, the highest standard of law, there were no facts to support those claims. There was no, they were just allegations, and we can only assume that if the court wasn't willing to pursue criminal charges because of those allegations, that means something within those allegations could have easily been proven to be false. We don't know what specifically. They've done a good job of hiding those details. In this particular case, the details are starting to leak. And I don't know if ESPN or mainstream media is going to speak on the aftermath of this. But I think the guy that's been targeted here, this is going to present a new element or problem for Duke, for Rachel Richardson and BYU. Because if it's proven on video that he didn't say these things, and he's been banned, and he's been admonished in the media, and his name gets slandered because this has been put on him, now they're facing a potential civil suit on that particular end of the spectrum. Like I said, it's a very confusing situation, but I think it all stems from mainstream media loving to run with stories that pit women as victims before doing any due diligence or research with regards to the validity of the claims. Remember, this is FYF. It's fuck your feelings. Take your feelings out of the emotion. Don't matter if you're black or white. The problem is we're living in a cancel culture, a day and age where people are so thirsty to cancel people over anything. Where we're living in a day and age where if you're a woman, you can literally make almost any accusation whatsoever and you will be believed until proven false. There have been many athletes. We talked about Sean Oakman at Baylor University. ESPN ran with that story. He was guilty until proven innocent. He was a projected first-round pick out of Baylor. His whole career left in shambles. He didn't get drafted because it wouldn't have looked good. Because ESPN and the women over there on mainstream media say, if you're accused of these things, you shouldn't be allowed to play or get a paycheck even before you have your day in court. So Sean Oakman wasn't drafted because of these allegations. And then those allegations were found proven to be false, but yet there's no remedy to help him get his name or image corrected or even get a second shot in the NFL. There's no recourse to fix that. So I just wanted to talk about this story in a manner that not necessarily picks a side or points a finger at Rachel Richardson as a liar. I'm just looking at the evidence. Now, if evidence comes out and this man is caught dead to rights on video saying and doing these things, I will admonish that guy and I will speak on how BYU should have acted. But the evidence is not supporting her claims, unfortunately. And I think that's going to be something that she's going to have to navigate very soon here, because if this guy is upset about this and chooses to pursue some type of legal action against the school for slander, that's going to call for her to sit on a stand under oath and try and tell the truth. And I just don't want to see another situation where either something happened. Right? There's two things that could happen here. Either something actually happened, somebody actually said something, and you have the entire BYU crowd covering up for this person. The entire campus police department and BYU athletics and administration, they're hiding the video and they're hiding the truth. So you either have that, or Rachel Richardson completely made up this story. With what her motivation for doing this might be, I don't know. But those are the only two options here. And it's up to you to determine where the credibility dissipates. So I believe Rachel Richardson, I don't believe this is the end of this story. I believe this is going to be an ongoing saga. I'm definitely going to follow it. I want to see where it ends up. Most definitely, racial heckles and slurs, those things did not belong in the game. I mean, we just saw last year how an Indiana Pacer fan said something about LeBron James's kid. But LeBron James didn't waste no time. He immediately stopped the game. He called a ref over and said this person needs to be removed for what they said. And he did not wait till after the game. He did not need a lawyer to release a statement. He addressed it right then and there. And then really didn't make a big deal about it after the fact. And that fan was kicked out. That fan was handled right then and there. His face was on the camera. We all know who that person was, and they've been publicly admonished. I wish it could have been handled this way. Just like the commentator said, I know a lot of coaches where as soon as, if as a coach myself, if I hear something like that on the road, we stopping the game. Either that fan got to go, re-identifying what's going on, or we ending the game and we moving on. I mean, I'm not telling them how they should have handled it, but it just looks kind of odd that nothing was said. This was not made a big deal during the game. And then even after the game, this wasn't spoken on until a lawyer was spoken to, and that lawyer released a statement about it. That was the odd thing about it. I don't know. You guys, let me know what you think about it. I think it's a very odd story. Don't want to call anyone a liar here, but I just compel people, follow the evidence. Don't let emotions or the racial sensitivity or anything like that move your emotions on this. Just follow the evidence. Because the worst thing in the world is to be accused of something you didn't do. And if you accuse the wrong person, you could then face your own repercussions. But hey, it's FYF Sports Management, another great podcast episode. You guys let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. What are your thoughts on ESPN and their response to this? There have been a myriad of people who've come out to say that she's lying. Obviously, the campus police and BYU administration have said they reviewed the video and did not find any evidence that supports what she said. But you guys, let me know in the comments what your decision is on this, how you feel about it. BYU does have a history of some very shoddy things with African Americans. So they're not clean in this themselves. But again, the facts remain in this case. But what are your thoughts on those facts? It's FYF Sportsman, another great podcast episode. All right, make sure you guys check out our lives. FYF Sports Live. Go sub to that channel. Very easy to find. Go type it in. Sub to the channel. That's where we will be doing our live stream shows. Also follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you watch your podcast. We have our daily commute show there. This is a subject we can talk about there as well. All right, we're going to be opening up the phone lines on the Spotify show, and we will open the phone lines when we go live to get your thoughts on all of these contentious topics throughout the week. We're going to be doing a live show every Sunday. So again, make sure you guys tune in to FYF Sports Live so we can get your opinions on all of the topics that we speak on throughout the week. FYF Sports, another great podcast episode. We will be back with more sports and news. But until then, it's FYF Sports, and we out.